Crystal here from Homemaking on the Homestead, and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about preserving food, and that includes canning and freezing, dehydrating, fermenting, and so on. And this is video number 7 in my series of valuable homemaking skills. Those are the homemaking skills that I think every homemaker should have, at least know how to do it, and be able to put it into use at any time they might need it, or just to enrich their lives, or to be frugal, or what have you. But this is a very valuable skill, knowing how to preserve food. I started this series with a video called Homemaking, Is It a Lost Art? And I can link that up here, and below I will have linked videos number 1 through 6 if you would like to go back and watch my other videos on homemaking skills. My last video was on gardening, and so of course preserving food and gardening kind of go hand in hand. If you have a large garden or even a moderate garden and you have excess produce, what do you do with it? Well, you figure out some way to make it last so that you can be enjoying it for longer in the year than just at garden season. Knowing how to preserve food is a very valuable skill to have. It allows you to take advantage of food that is either in season or on sale. You can go to farmers markets in the summer or roadside stands and get yourself all kinds of good, fresh, local produce that is in season and usually at a reasonable cost. Then you can preserve that and you have it all season long. It's a great way to fill your pantry and to fill your freezer. So there are several ways that you can preserve food. So I'm basically going to talk about a few of them, but there are many different ways. You can can it, which includes mason jars, putting your food in there and then going through the process of canning, which I will get to. You can freeze your food, you can dehydrate your food, you can ferment your food. The main one that I have done over the years is canning. And I have canned hundreds and hundreds of jars, probably in the thousands, who knows. I have done a lot of canning. It started with doing fruit and jam and learning the basics of canning, just kind of step by step. I taught myself how to do it by reading books. I had a good friend that had done a lot of canning, and she gave me a whole lot of advice, and I really studied it well to learn and understand. Before you can begin to can, there is the initial investment of a canner. You can buy a boiling water bath canner or a pressure canner. They can in 2 different ways. And besides that, you'll need jars, rings, lids. The rings and the jars can be reused, but every time you can, you'll need to purchase lids. And you'll need to know how to can properly and safely. This is where knowledge is power. This is where reading as much as you can, gaining enough information, plenty of information on safe canning practices. The internet is full of resources for that. There are books on that. There's no lack of being able to get the information, just time spent learning how to can. And once you understand it, then you're going to be good. I bought my canner, the one that I still use today. I bought it 35 years ago, at least. And I have had to change the rubber gasket on it several times in the 35 years, and periodically I would have my gauge checked to make sure that it was accurate. Other than that, it's been a trooper, and I have a Presto canner. It's nothing fancy. It was a big investment for me at the time. I know there's better canners out there that people talk about, but for me, I bought a 21-quart Presto canner, and I have, like I said, I've literally canned thousands of jars of food with that. It's good to know that there are 2 ways to can, as I mentioned before. It's a boiling water bath and pressure canning. Boiling water bath is for things like fruits and jams and pickled items, things that have a high acid content. Pressure canning, you need to use that for vegetables and meat and beans. I cannot tell you how many blog posts I have put up over the years on canning, and I would always have somebody ask me if I was showing, for instance, how to can meat, they would ask me, can I do this in a boiling water bath canner? And I would constantly have to say no. And then people would say, well, my grandmother did it, or, you know, my great-grandmother did everything in a boiling water bath. And, you know, nobody was hurt by that. Nobody ever got sick. And I don't doubt those stories. I'm sure that they are true. My personal opinion on it is that you can get very ill from improperly canned food. Botulism, which is a toxin that is released into the food. It is odorless. It is, you don't see it, you don't smell it, and yet it can be actually deadly. It attacks the nerve system. And so why would you want to take a chance for the safety of your life, your family's life, your children? It's simply not worth it. So canning properly is completely safe. And those rules just need to be followed. I like canning oftentimes over freezing simply because of ease of use. So you can take it off the shelf, open the lid, heat it up, and you can use it. If your power goes out, I've had that happen before. We've had sometimes power outages for days during winter storms, and has always been so nice to have something on my shelf like canned beef stew or soup that I can throw together easily a meal and heat it over a camp stove. And so ease of use is one reason that I like canning over freezing. However, I have frozen a lot of food also, and it has its advantages. I think the best thing about freezing is anybody can do it. You don't need any special equipment. All you need is a freezer, and you need either freezer bags, which are readily available at the grocery store, or you need freezer containers, which you can use over and over and over. And that's it. That's all you need to know. That's all the equipment that you need to get shit started. If you're freezing things like vegetables, then you need to, again, knowledge is power. Read up on all of these things and educate yourself so that you know. Many vegetables need to be blanched, which is to put them in boiling water for a certain amount of time and then put them into ice water to stop the cooking, and then pack them into freezer bags and put them in the freezer. Also, another way that I took advantage of freezing years ago, the concept of once a month cooking came out, and and I really loved that. I did that a lot. I would spend about 2 or 3 days grocery shopping, chopping, cutting, and then assembling an entire month's worth of meals and putting them in the freezer. And I didn't have to think about cooking anymore that month, other than which one to pull out and which one to serve for dinner. I did that for several years. It's a lot of work, at least once a month, but after that it frees up a lot of your time. Another thing that I've enjoyed doing is meal prepping. So if I know I'm going to serve tacos and spaghetti and maybe chili that month, instead of creating all those meals all at once, I would simply cook up the necessary amount of hamburger, divide that into freezer bags or freezer containers, and then it was ready. It was already cooked and ready to go for the night that I wanted to serve that. Fermenting is another way to preserve food. Before the advent of freezers and canning, fermenting was a very common way to preserve food. Basically, it's done with salt and a lot of time. You have to wait sometimes several days for the fermentation process to take effect. You basically have good bacteria and good microorganisms and yeast, that type of thing, that is converting all the sugar and the starches in your food, and they're converting that to alcohol and acids. Those alcohol and acids then preserve your food for longer periods of time, and that's what gives fermented foods its kind of zing or zest when you go to eat it, like sauerkraut. There are a lot of foods that can be fermented. Sauerkraut and kimchi, wine and beer are fermented foods. Kombucha is a fermented food. Sourdough products like sourdough bread, even things like yogurt and kefir and buttermilk are all various types of fermented food. I have done a lot of that in the past. I haven't done it so much lately. My daughter does it all the time. Almost all of her bread is sourdough bread. The advantage of fermenting, of course, is that your food lasts longer, which is a good thing, so you can take advantage of food that's in season. You can ferment all kinds of different things. I mean, you can ferment carrots, you can ferment garlic, you can ferment onions. So anything that that is available in good supply, fermentation isn't a bad way to do it. There's definitely a lot of information and a lot of things to learn and understand about it, but again, once you have the knowledge, then you can take advantage of this. The other good thing about fermenting food is that it is full of really good bacteria, probiotics, naturally. And these are great for your digestion and your overall health. They help your immune system. So learning how to ferment food is definitely worth the time and the effort to do it. Dehydrating food is another method. I have a small food dehydrator. I have done it a few times, but I've never really gotten into it. And I have seen some people do amazing things. If you don't have a lot of space, that would definitely be a way to preserve food. I saw a woman she had a huge, gigantic bag of carrots, you know, and by the time she had dried them, they could all fit in less than a quart canning jar. I think that's great. And so it's something that I would like to do more of, but I haven't. So again, these are all things to research and learn. One of the great things about being a homemaker is learning new skills, learning new things to do that will enrich your life and enrich your family's life. And preserving food is one of those skills that I highly recommend. Begin small. You know, now as I post this video, it's the end of spring, beginning of summer's coming. And there's going to be a lot of produce available and a lot of variations of things that you can do. If you don't know how to can, start with freezing, research the canning, talk to somebody that cans. If you have a neighbor or friend that would let you join them while they can, try that and see what and learn it from any way and any method that you can. I think it's great as homemakers that we share our skills especially with other homemakers that either haven't learned these skills or are young, and you can introduce them to these skills. Okay, I think that wraps up video number 7 on important homemaking skills, preserving food. Let me know in the comments, what kind of preserving things do you do regularly? What have you done? What would you still like to learn? I would definitely be interested in knowing that. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, could you please give it a thumbs up? And if you have not subscribed to my channel and you like my content, would you consider subscribing? I really appreciate that very much. All right, everybody, I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.